All right, we have three pieces here that are 5 inches wide, and we're calling them, this is the sides. All right, so since we cut it this way, these are 48 inches. So the sides are going to go on like this. All right, and it does extend past the end of it, so this piece can come on the back part. So we need to cut this piece that's down here. Actually, I think it's better to have the 48-inch piece to the front because I noticed that when I had a lot of weight on the very back, uh, I think this will give it some extra strength not having a seam right here. So that's the play. So I just need to cut my third one, my extra one. You know, I have the two. I need to get 21 out of it here and 21 out of it here, so that will constitute the entire side. So I'm going to measure that out and cut it. All right, so I went ahead and marked my line with my square right at 21 inches. And I got me a wood clamp here to kind of hold it while I do it. All right, I got my one cut of 21 inches. And while I was doing it, I was noticing the sawdust kind of peppering my face, and I forgot my safety glasses. Most important rule. So I went ahead and got them on. I marked. I actually flipped the board around because I knew that this edge over here was factory cut, so I might as well keep the best edges. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this other 21 inch. All right, so then I think that side's done. So next up be the well, before we sit the sides on, I forgot a step here. So looking at the master drawer that we're going from, we got a little notch out here because there's a board that goes in the back of the pickup box that this thing has to clear. So we need to notch this out. This is a 1/2 inch and it's 11 inches to the back. So we're going to take that out of the shorter side pieces. All right, using the square, I marked out my 1/2 inch by 11 that I want to cut out. There was a couple things I took into account. One is I have this is the rough sawn cut, you know, the one I did with the saw, and I can't imagine it's perfectly straight, good enough for a drawer, but I have the factory cut here. So I want to make sure when I butt these boards up against each other for the sides that it's factory cut to factory cut. So I went ahead and left that. And then the other thing was is I want to keep, you know, if you look at these boards, this is the bleach side, like the more white, and then this has a little more color. I want to keep the color all on the inside of that thing, just to keep it consistent. So when I line this up on my board, I make sure that where I'm cutting, then this one will go here, and I'll have the kind of the bleach side on the outside. So I lined up both of them that way to make sure that I would have the continuous color on the inside. All right, now that I got everything marked and I'm holding it here, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of rip this with this circular saw. And, you know, I kind of keep reminding myself this is just a drawer. You know, all I need it to be as functional as possible and do what it needs to do. So, not too overly concerned with keeping these to the millimeter. I'll just do the best I can. All right, gotta do the other one. One thing I noticed is that you do have to take it a little bit past the line so that you don't leave a little bit of residue just because, or residual just because the blade is curved. So I'll take this one just a 1/4 inch past. Right. Right. So I don't know if you can see that. If you were smart enough to keep your blade on that cut on the outside of your line, that leaves you with a piece that's a 1/2 inch thick. And I'm going to use this to help me get the sides on, because if you look, go like this, just lean this back. The way this works is it kind of fits inside. Let's see, can you see that? So this piece sticks down a 1/2 inch from this piece. So I'm going to put a bunch of these spacers in there so that I can get it to line up easy. I don't have to eyeball it. All right, so I just marked those out. Remember, it was 11 inches, so I just marked out 1 inch for each one, so I got 10 total because, I left the last one a little longer, so I cut my finger off. But so I'm going to go ahead and place these all over the tops of this, and then I'll put my main board on top. All right, so I got my little pieces sitting sideways all over. And then I'm going to go ahead and place this piece right on top. All right, I had 10 of those little pieces, and I ended up putting 6 of them right along my edge that I'm going to do. And actually, the other piece that I did, so I've kind of used this as my gauge to make sure that I'm where I need to be. And actually, it's a little bit warped in a couple places, so I'm going to have to push it down to make sure that I'm getting the warp out of it. But it's at least a 1/2 inch all the way down. So then the next step is I'm going to call this the front, calling it now. And this will be one of my sides. And this is the one I said, this is the piece that I cut that I want the color on the inside. So I'll put that here. And then I'll have a nice template for getting the screws in. All right, time to put the sides on. I took my ruler from my square and I put it up right to the middle of this board here because that's where I want the screws to go in. And we got these, they're 2.5, so they should be plenty long enough to go through the board and hold this guy strongly. So then I just ran this down. I went in 6 inches, and then every foot I put a mark. So I'm going to kind of run them all the way down there, and then I'll put one here in the beginning. I might put a couple where the 2 boards. I just want to get them secured, and then we'll go from there. I also had a little issue with my table, my plastic table. So when I put the spare piece of plywood that I had on top of that, it did have still had some little bit in it where this board, I had a gap right here. So I did a couple things. One is I took my extra pieces and I slid them under, and that really helped bridge the gap. But then I noticed I just took a screwdriver and jammed it in there. That would bring that up so that it sat on there flat. So, and also I had a little bow in this board, and I was having a hard time figuring out how to push it down and screw at the same time. So I just went and got a brick, and that was plenty heavy enough to smash it down on the spacers. So a little adapt and overcome.